You're listening to Power Talk, Berkeley Electric Cooperative's official broadcast about the cooperative, our communities, and ways to use energy wisely. And now, let's join our hosts for today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Power Talk. I am Micah Ponce, the Communications and Media Specialist here at Berkeley Electric Cooperative, and I'm always joined by Miss Libby Roig, the Director of Marketing and Communications.
Good morning, Micah. We've got a full house this morning with the greatest minds at the co-op.
That's me. Exit left, stage left.
Well, I guess not us.
Yeah, I was about to say, an August company today. We all love it when we have a full studio because then I don't have to talk as much and y'all don't have to listen to me. So speaking of that, we'll get right to it and introduce our special guests. We have Miss Amy Langdon, the Vice President of Member Services. Welcome.
Good morning.
And sitting to my left is Mr. Bryan Reece, the Vice President of Information and Technology, or Information Technology, I guess, IT.
IT. Good morning as well.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Amy and Bryan. Thank you for joining us today. I think today's topic, if I read my notes correctly, is going to be annual meeting of members, which is just around the corner.
Yep.
Fall is pumpkin spice season for most people. It's annual meeting season for us.
Yeah.
But don't sound so excited, folks.
No, October is National Co-op Month. So
there you go.
We celebrate that as we prepare for in November.
Hopefully, cooler weather's on the rise coming
our
way.
Yeah, that would definitely be a thing that we would like.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah,
don't want to melt.
Say goodbye to the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Tired of the mosquitoes. Ready for some fall weather. And I'm not so big on pumpkin spice. Maybe some apple cider or something for me.
There you go. A little bourbon.
You said it, not me.
But speaking of weather, annual meeting, we've seen all kinds of weather, all seasons in annual meeting, including one year we had like a tropical storm come through. And yeah. So
while we were under tents at the fairgrounds.
All right, well, hold on. Save that for the good, later in the show. Don't spell the good stuff now. We haven't even gotten past the introductions.
Sorry.
Sorry.
2 minutes in and we're already off track. Not quite a new record. That's a sad thing. Well, like I said, topic today, going to be annual meeting. Before we do that, we're going to do our normal roundup because it's been a little bit of a while since some of us have been in studio and some of us haven't even been in the new studio. But ladies first. So Amy, give us a little bit of background for the folks listening. What do you do for the co-op? How you got here? All that kind of good stuff.
Yep. So I am the VP of Member Services. I've been here at the co-op a little over 20 years now, so going on 21 years. I've done pretty much anything you can do in member services and actually have more than 20 years of annual meetings under my belt from doing them as a summer intern. So definitely know annual meeting inside and out.
Well, and then the gentleman sitting to my left, he joined us, pre me probably, at the old studios where we used to record Power Talk. Yeah, so he is a veteran of Power Talk, but new to our beautiful new studio here at the Moncks Corner District
Highway 52.
Highway 52, downtown Moncks. Well, on the outskirts of Moncks Corner, I guess.
Uptown Moncks Corner.
Uptown Moncks Corner. Heading out towards Creek. But Bryan, give us a little bit of background about yourself, sir, for those folks who don't remember the last time you were on the show.
It is a 30-minute show, though.
Okay, so all right. So yes, I'm the Vice President of IT. I've been with Berkeley for just over 24 years. Mike, I came in shortly after you. I think you and I were in the same orientation.
Yep.
I've done everything on the technical side of annual meetings since pretty much the day I've come through the door. So Amy handles the member service side. I'm more behind the scenes guy.
Well, welcome to both of y'all. Like I said, it's annual meeting, and I guess plans are underway.
Yeah, we're looking at mid-November for this year's annual meeting. It's a little bit later to avoid the election. Yep. We've got the U.S. election on November 5th. So
we had that this year? I hadn't heard a thing about it.
Not a thing.
Yeah, we'll all be glad when it's over. But Amy, why are annual meetings important to co-ops?
It's really the main time that a member has to have any say in how the co-op is run. Our cooperative principles drive everything we do, and one of those is democratic member control. And we really want our members to participate and to run in the elections and to vote in the elections. And like I said, that's the main way they have a say in how this co-op is run. There are member owners, and we want to make sure that everyone who wants to participate does and has an opportunity and all those things. So it's very important to us to make sure that we do everything right for annual meeting, and that it goes off without a hitch.
Yeah. So. Well, and we certainly put the Berkeley touch on annual meeting, and we'll talk a little more about that later. But we have to govern our voting or how we run our annual meetings within certain guidelines. Who sets the guidelines for how co-ops host annual meetings?
Yeah, so the state actually dictates a lot regarding our annual meeting. They tell us how the voting has to occur. So we have to have early voting days in advance of the actual annual meeting date. We can't allow proxy voting, which means, if it's a single membership account in a wife's name, the husband can't come vote for her, or power of attorney can't vote for someone who's incapacitated. That's state law. That's not really something that we have control over. We also have to have in-person voting. That legislation is very specific. So, as much as we would love to have online voting and not have to have 4 12-hour days, the state says everybody's got to come out, and we get to see all those lovely faces in person. So.
Yeah, and it is a great time for us to see our members face to face. But we do have a lot of folks. We serve out onto the islands, Kiowa, Seabrook. Those are seasonal homes for a lot of folks. They miss annual meeting. And they would love to do online or mail in or whatever. But unfortunately, we can't make that change. It's a state law. Right. And the state law has changed within the last few years to offer early voting. And we've gone from, a half-day event to now 48 hours of opportunity to vote.
Yeah, we used to do 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., I believe, on a Saturday in person in one location. And so now we do have the opportunity to touch more members now that we have 4 12-hour days. Yeah. And we're spending time in each district somewhat. Goose Creek is right here. We handle it through Monk's Corner, but we definitely get more reach out into those districts doing it this way.
Yeah. So 12 hours of voting in each of our 4 districts.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, what folks might not realize is that as an electric cooperative, we are member owned, but when we were incorporated, we have certain things that we have to meet in terms of our bylaws. We are governed by bylaws, and those bylaws state that we have to have a quorum of our members meet each year, because otherwise we're self-governed. We're not governed by the Public Utilities Commission. So that's one of the key things that we have to do each year regardless. We got to have that annual meeting. We have to have a quorum. And as we've mentioned, we far exceed that quorum every year, and we have for many, many years done that. But, always different ways for us to tackle the annual meeting. We've done it a lot, but there's always seems to be a new wrinkle. Bryan, what are the plans for BEC members this year at our annual meeting? What can they expect?
Well, so as y'all know, COVID took place, and we couldn't have the typical in-person meeting. So, and I say we copied, but I don't know if copy is more so the word. Chick-fil-A revolutionized the drive-through process, and I don't know how much money they spent, but people use the term we've copied it, and that's basically what we had to do if we wanted to have an annual meeting because of the rules and regulations behind COVID. So we had it our very first year, and it was such an amazing thing. It was easy. It was easy for us, or so we thought it was, and it was that much easier for our members. And it was quickly adopted because of the speed at which it got people through. Yeah. So we adopted that process. It went very well for us. We did learn as we went through. There were some things we had to change. We were doing it all in the same week. We were exhausted come the end of the week. So I got together with Amy, and we said, "Hey," and Amy I think came with the idea, let's put this in 2 weeks. Yeah. And we were
spread it out a little bit.
Yeah. So we went that process. It's went very well for us. So we'll continue to go through the drive-through process. Another thing is, and I think you already said, we do it in 4 districts. We have to do 2 districts here in Monk's Corner because we don't have the facilities in Goose Creek to handle the amount of traffic that's there. And so in Moncks Corner, this office really does do a really good job of being able to store people while we're running the process through.
Yeah, and we used to rent space at the fairgrounds, which some members really like that. If you live more on the Summerville side of the system, it's closer. But that comes at a considerable cost, and we can use our own facilities for free. So it certainly is a cost savings to have both days here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, 78, and if we were to ever back up, we could possibly back up 78. I think 2002, Amy, was the George Foreman Grill.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, the day that shall live in infamy in co-op history.
I try to scratch that from memory. But even, in our first couple of years of drive-through, we were in Ladson at the fairgrounds, and we had traffic issues because there were wrecks on the interstate, which caused it to back up.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot easier to get to our headquarters for most people than to go over to Ladson.
Yeah. And just as a quick aside, for those folks who weren't here for the George Foreman year, we used to hand out physical prizes or registration gifts, I should say, at our annual meeting. And the year of the George Foreman, it turned out to be particularly popular. It was also raining on that day.
Raining.
We had folks, it was taking 2 hours to get from Moncks Corner to the fairgrounds. The interstate exits were starting to back up. We had the governor's office call us and tell us they were going to send the National Guard out if we couldn't get the interstates cleared. So
oh my gosh,
it was quite the production and quite the issue. And yes, it left a very indelible memory burned into our minds for those of us who lived through it that year.
Yeah, that was a rough year.
So always fun. Annual meeting, always something different.
So, Bryan, we're looking at November 13th in Allendale, the 14th in Johns Island, and then November 19th and 20th in Moncks Corner. And members can vote. It doesn't matter if you live in that district. You can vote on any day, whatever suits your schedule, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We just do it there for ease of access if you live in that area. But if you're driving by from work or what have you, you can stop at any district and vote. It's not specific.
Yeah.
One of the things we're doing, as always, we've always tried to give away a gift. Recently, in the last few years, we've been giving away a bill credit, and we're giving away a $30 bill credit this year, along with a grand prize. And I've seen the grand prize, and it's sharp. It's a 2014 Dodge Charger, and it's got 77,162 miles on it. It's got aluminum wheels on it. It's a nice-looking vehicle.
So, Bryan, why do we give away an old vehicle?
A couple of things. At the end of the day, we have, as our fleet ages, we replace stuff so that we have a good, reliable fleet. But also, it becomes a blessing to whoever gets it. If you have if you get a vehicle that we're giving away, that vehicle went through an overhaul. Mm-hmm. Basically, they go do a major tune-up on it. They detail it out. They clean it up. They make sure it runs. They make sure the air conditioner's running. Make sure it's fully functional. Now, of course, it's going to have some miles on it and some wear and tear on it. But it's a great vehicle, and we make sure that it's a blessing to whoever gets it. And I did hear of one year that whoever won it had donated it.
Yeah,
it was last year actually. Yeah. We for whatever reason our cute little Ford Escape did not catch a lot of people's attention. It was a cute little thing. It was actually pretty nice, but for whatever reason, most folks were a little bit lukewarm on it. But that's not the reason that the gentleman returned it. He just said he was not in a position, he was like to need it. And he said he wanted to return it and have us donate it somewhere to be a blessing to somebody else. And we actually reached out to a not-for-profit that we had worked with before down in Allendale in the McClellanville area. And we donated it to him because what he does is he takes cars and he fixes them up on his own, and then he donates them to families in need.
Yeah.
So we took that car and give it to him, and he repurposed it to a family down in that area who didn't have otherwise reliable transportation.
Yeah.
So it all worked out well in the end. I think like you said, it was a blessing for our family. So
yeah.
But yeah, this one's a little snazzier than our Ford Escape, just a little bit.
Well, we get asked every year, why y'all giving away an old car? Again, we're a not-for-profit organization. If we were giving away brand new cars every year, that wouldn't be being good stewards of our members' resources. But an older vehicle, the taxes are lower, the cost to operate is lower for whoever gets it, and if you're a family with 2 working parents and 1 working car, that's a hardship. And so getting a well-maintained vehicle for your family is really just a blessing for so many people. And shout out to our garage. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to drive a co-op vehicle, and those guys, that is their mission in life, is to keep employees safe, to keep the vehicles well maintained and operating in a safe manner, getting folks home safely every night to their families. So, they certainly do a nice overhaul right before we hand it out, but the life of the vehicle, it's well maintained, and any little weird noises or kinks are worked out immediately. So it's a good, solid vehicle.
Absolutely.
Well, folks, if you're just now tuning in, we're talking all things annual meeting with 2 of our vice presidents, Miss Amy Langdon and Mr. Bryan Reece. We're talking about our annual meeting, and we talked about the George Foreman year, and that was actually one of our bigger annual meetings back in the day when we had it in person. I mean, I think we cleared right about 10,000 folks who came through. So, but things have changed a little bit now with our drive-through.
Yeah. Yeah, so historically, we're known to have the biggest annual meetings in the country, and a lot of that was due to our former CEO, Dwayne Cartwright, who, go big or go home was really his middle name.
Sure. Yeah.
But, like Micah said, we have always had, banner attendance, but with the drive-through format and the extended voting hours, we've almost doubled turnout.
Multiple locations makes it easier for people to come.
Yep. So last year we had nearly 14,000 members register and vote. So Amy, what's our busiest day of the 4 12-hour days, and what's the voting and registration process look for the average member? Starting with pull up to the facility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so our busiest day is always our first day here at headquarters. Last year we did like 5,800, 5,900 in that one day.
Yeah.
The day after, we were around 4,500, I think, 4,200. So that first day is usually rocking here at headquarters.
If you're looking to get in and out, you might
don't come that day.
Maybe look at Allendale or Johns Island.
If you happen to be in that area.
Or the second Monk's Corner day is usually a lot less. So we try to make the process as easy as possible. You drive in and hopefully don't have a wait. If you do, hopefully it's minuscule. You just hand us your driver's license and your annual meeting letter, and we scan it and hand you a ballot, and you do your thing, and then you're ready to roll. So we try to get you in and out. 2 minutes or less is our goal usually.
But when you've got 5,000 people in line, that 2 minutes gets amplified a little bit.
It does. Yeah.
But we've got our linemen in the parking lot working traffic.
Linemen are doing traffic, and we have every person we can possibly have doing registration
and support people for those folks, feeding them candy, the whole time.
Yeah, coolers and everything, snack carts rolling around, and then we've got lunch being cooked and served.
And if you happen to be stuck in line, we do have our own BEC radio station that is broadcasting to give you some information. So when you roll up to the station, you're ready to go. I think it's 99.5 is what it usually is, and it's only when you pull on property you can tune in. If you're stuck in line, like I said, it'll give you all the ins and outs of what you need to do right before you get up to the voting station to help you breeze on through as quickly as possible. And that's always because we're trying to make the process a little bit better and smoother every year. Like I said, we've done it forever, as long as we had a co-op, but we're still learning and we still make changes. For instance, we've moved from paper to digital ballots over the years. I think that was actually just a very recent change.
Oh, yeah.
And then last year, we even changed the way that our voting lanes were laid out from one day to the next, just to try to make it quicker for folks to be able to get through. We have a nice new property here at Monk's Corner, but even then, when we've got that many folks coming through, there's still only so many ways you can move that many cars through the property. So we're out there moving things around, getting through things as efficiently as possible. And that takes a lot of planning and interdepartmental collaboration. So to go into pulling off an event like this. So Bryan, take us behind the scenes. When does this process start and what does it look like?
So I don't know that the process really ever stops.
No,
I was about to say,
I was gonna say, as soon as one is over, we're already working on the next one.
Yeah.
But we kind of let the holidays, we kind of try to enjoy our holidays, right? That's what we do. And then we get to the first of the year, and Amy and I and a group of people get together and determine what dates are feasible for us. And I think Amy submits them to the board for approval. And once those days are put in for approval, we begin the process early. So that's February.
Yeah, usually by February we have the dates and have to start laying everything out.
So and then once we know that those dates are, Amy will reach out to the lawyer. We reach out to the poll group and just to secure them for usually in November. With that, then we slowly start the process. We start inventory equipment, make sure we have all the extension cords, iPads, whatever we need. We go through that process, and it just becomes a logical process of the planning and collaboration. And yet you ask that question, collaboration. It's a group effort. There's a lot of people involved, and everybody knows what the left hand and right hand always know what's going on.
Yeah. And Micah, you mentioned us changing things up after the first Monk's Corner Day last year. That was literally us getting in a huddle and saying, okay, how can we fix this for tomorrow? Because today was not how we wanted it to be. And
so we started with 4 lanes?
6
lanes.
Yep.
With
3
4
deep.
deep,
3 deep, 4 deep, 3 deep.
3 deep, I
3
think.
deep, yeah.
Yep.
and then we moved it to 12 lanes, 2 deep. So what we found was you might have a car come up with 3 or 4 members voting, and that's great. We love when folks make it, an outing and get together. But that can hold up
the people behind them.
2 or 3 other cars or hold up the whole lane. So what we found was the more lanes shorter got them through quicker. But that's real time.
Yep.
How do we make this better?
Yeah. I mean, we stopped voting at 7, and by 8 we had everything moved and laid out for the next day. So,
and it was a physical relocation from the meter shed to the truck bays.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it wasn't just refiguring
Right.
tables. It was moving the whole operation to a different part on the property.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, even the planning of the dates takes a lot of tweaking and stuff because, this year the annual meeting's a little bit later than we normally have it, but that's because we've got a presidential election. And sometimes in the past, we found out that folks can get confused when we're talking in our magazine about voting for this and voting for that. I know one year we said we had early voting on a specific date, and folks were getting confused, thinking it was presidential election early voting. So even when it comes down to when are we having the meeting, it takes a lot of planning and tweaking from year to year.
Especially when there's a general election, we try to put some space, some distance in between those dates, even just because it's hard to coordinate with our vendors. We're using
their
voting machines and stuff like that. So, if they're tied up in the general election, then they can't always assist us if we have it immediately after. So,
and Thanksgiving's late this year, so it just really worked out.
It did. One of the things Amy alluded to is we have a communication among cooperative principle. So we went to other cooperatives to see how they handle their annual meeting, and we try to gain some efficiencies, and vice versa. They come to visit us, but hopefully we have something that's going to help speed the process up. It's just a little hand scanner just to kind of speed up the process. So.
Yeah. Because we were using the camera on the iPads to scan the barcode, but now we can use like a grocery store scanner. And
Absolutely.
Beep them a little bit faster. Shave a few seconds off.
Yeah, and some of those co-ops, some of the other co-ops have gone back to either a hybrid version where they do have some in person, or some have gone to back to in person. But as the largest electric cooperative in the state, with around 130,000 accounts, somewhere in that neighborhood now, we've got the challenge of, like we said, one of the largest annual meetings in the nation. So moving that many people through and giving everybody as much opportunity to take part in the democratic voting process as possible, which is, like we said, one of our core principles. We've decided to stick here at Berkeley with the drive-through format because it just seems to make the most sense for, like I said, letting as many people as possible take part in the voting process.
Well, and we talked a little bit earlier about, the state requirements for our annual meeting and the fact that we have to have early voting. It just makes sense to spread that out amongst our districts and leave it that way. The scale of what we do would be so hard trying to cram in 1 day or 2 days. I can't even imagine at this level how we would go back.
And serving multiple districts. I think if we
Yeah.
had one district, that changes the game,
Sure.
even if we're just one big district. But, you know, we've looked at shortening times in the smaller districts, which makes sense logically, but, you know, in the whole fairness aspect, you know, giving each district the same amount of time, we would end up adding yet another day of annual meeting if we try to change the format.
Right.
And even with a centralized location, I mean, we're over an hour from one point in our system to the next. So, I mean, yeah, we had centralized in Goose Creek, but I mean, it was still a little bit of an imposition for those folks from Jones Island to come up, or those folks from Allendale to come up. And this way, it's right in their backyard. And so you get the best opportunity that you can to come out and do it. You know, and we throw the kitchen sink in it, like you said. Everybody at the co-op, you know, is involved to a degree.
Yeah. And speaking of which, you know, we have a little over 300 employees. Amy, how many of those employees work annual meeting in some capacity, touch annual meeting, and what does their typical shift look like?
So, I mean, it takes all of us to support annual meeting in some way. If you're not actually working the annual meeting, then you are helping cover the normal duties of those who are, because we're still open, we're still, you know, operating like normal outside of, you know, possibly a district office being closed. But if you're not working the actual annual meeting, you're supporting behind the scenes, or you're covering for those who are. So, and it's a long day. It's a good 12.5 to 13-hour day. Voting is open for 12 hours. So we have our folks come in a little early and leave a little after. So for those of us who are coordinating things that looks more like a 14 or a 15-hour day. Yeah. Which again is why it's nice that we spread that out over 2 weeks instead of trying to do 4 days in a row like we did the first year and never again.
Yeah. And it is, as somebody who's worked registration every year that I've been here, I miss the in-person meetings, but it is a grueling day. You're standing on your feet for at least 12 hours. Yeah. But the camaraderie and just the fun of it all, you know, and I always enjoy spending an in-depth period of time with an employee who I don't get to work with usually, and just getting to know somebody a little bit better. But the spirit of camaraderie is so much there, and it's really
you know,
fun.
we do try to make it fun. We try to make it as laid back as possible because it is a long day. We want employees to be comfortable. We want them, you know, to have snacks and breaks and all those things, so it's not so grueling because it's a long day no matter how you slice it. But I think we do have fun, and we do get creative with assignments.
Sure.
I pick who goes where, and I like to mix it up and put folks with who they're not normally with all day. So. And
no matter what the format, you know, even the old format, it was a grueling, you know, half day or whatever, because, I mean, like I said, we used to order in about 10,000 registration gifts, and it would come on a giant semi, and we would have to have employees unload the semi. Then they had to unbox everything and stack everything. And then we have all the golf carts that we rented where we were taking folks to and from the parking. And so, I mean, there were people in every role. I mean, I think one year we even had somebody, I don't know why it became a problem that year, but one year we had ducks that were sort of invading the midway. And so we had somebody on duck duty trying to keep the ducks out of the way to stop interfering with voting. So, I mean, if we've got all hands on deck when we say when it comes to annual meeting, we really do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Kind of seen it all.
Yes, we have. I mean, you know, like Libby said, you know, there's benefits to both. I mean, the old annual meeting, even when I started, I mean, I think we had a flea market at one point,
petting zoo,
health fair,
kids center,
the health fair, kids zone.
Food trucks,
we used to have
the choruses perform.
Oh yeah, the local choral groups performed. We even had like a robotics team come out one year, and had a frisbee throwing robot, car shows.
Oh my gosh.
So I mean, the old annual meetings, I think even before, you know, our time here, I mean, when an annual meeting started, it was almost like it was a 2-day sort of festival / fair where they would show you the latest electronic appliances and
show you how to use electricity.
They had a Miss Co-op pageant. They had all kinds of stuff. I think we should bring that back, Bryan. You're heading that up for us. So.
I don't remember the Miss Co-op.
That was back in the day. But like we said, folks, we got annual meeting that's coming up. It's going to be on November 13th in Allendale, November 14th in Johns Island, and November 20th and 21st in Monk's Corner. And the members who register and vote are going to receive a $30 bill credit and are automatically entered in the drawing for all great door prizes, including that 2015 or 2014, I don't remember which, but the Dodge Charger. The fancy little car, not a Forescape, Dodge Charger. All right. Well, for more information, you can go to the co-op's website at berkeleyelectric.coop or follow us on social media. And folks, that's going to do it for another edition of Power Talk. And as always, you can follow us on our social channels, and you can find past episodes on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio, and get a behind-the-scenes look on our Berkeley Electric YouTube channel. So until next time, this is Power Talk, signing off.